You know the song Lemon, right? It's amazing. I mean, Rihanna raps on it like a badass.
You could catch me, in the new La Ferrari.
And the music video is incredible. Rihanna shaves dancer Meta Talley's head right before she goes on to dance under saturated neon lights for the rest of the video. And the more I listened to it, the more there was something about its sound that just felt super familiar. And the fact that I couldn't pinpoint why was driving me crazy. And then one day, it just clicked. Lemon sounds a lot like a New Orleans bounce song.
Bouncing around.
Now, if you don't know what New Orleans bounce is, then you're in for a treat, because I have the perfect person to help explain it.
It's something that moves in your bones, moves in your body, and it moves in your soul.
That's Big Freedia, the unofficial, but let's just say official ambassador of New Orleans bounce.
In New Orleans, we take any song. It can be from a Beyonce song to a Rihanna song to a Drake song. It could be Patti LaBelle. It could be a church song. They will take it and put a bounce beat on it, honey.
To understand bounce music, you have to go back to the late 1980s and early 90s. It was the golden age of hip-hop, and rap's biggest hits were coming from the East and West Coast. In New Orleans, though, a rap scene was just starting to form, and while artists were trying to find their voice and identity, they were also competing with the likes of Snoop Dogg and Run DMC on the local radio stations. So they had to come up with ways to get the city's attention.
Oh, yeah! You know the bass line in the background, baby. New Orleans, you know.
Rapper Gregory D and producer Manny Fresh figured out that winning strategy with Buck Jump Time.
Listen to the rhymes back to back that I wrote for the Project Rap. This rap is wild, a #1 hit. When you ever heard a rapper bust like this? Uptown, Third Wall, that Cali, yo, melt for me. Magnolia, the home of dope. St. Thomas, Lafitte, the Iberville's hard, and that 7 Ward, St. Bernard.
All those chants are shout-outs to different housing projects in the city. And in 1989, it made Buck Jump Time an instant local hit.
You got to represent the people. That's the people who gonna talk about the songs. That's the people who gonna play the songs. That's the people who gonna shake their ass. That's the people who gonna feed the music where it needs to be fed.
Buck Jump Time was a progenitor to bounce, but it quickly solidified emotional appeals to the people of New Orleans as one of the earliest conventions of the genre.
It's not only the lyrics that were so catchy, but it's the beat. The beat that got everybody on their feet.
That's the Triggerman beat.
The rhymes you are about to hear are true.
And you might have heard it before in songs like Ball by T.I.
Okay, we walk off in it, bitch. Ballin' in it, bitch. Okay. Hopping out of Lambos and Ferraris in it, bitch.
Or Triggerman by Lil Wayne.
Little Wayne, BC baby, motherfucking Trigger Man. Yeah, the motherfucking Trigger Man.
You know where I hear it? Lemon.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Triggerman definitely has a strong point in the sound of bounce music. You know, when you hear that dun 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 dun, you know, the rhymes you're about to hear are true. It is just like, it's so magical to the culture of New Orleans.
The funny thing is the Triggerman beat wasn't created in New Orleans. It was created by the rap duo The Showboys in Queens, New York. And it was originally called drag rap because they sampled sounds from the detective show Dragnet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
The song was made around 1986. It barely got any radio airplay in New York and soon after the Showboys disbanded. But somehow, this record ended up in New Orleans and the city loved it. In the words of Lil Wayne,
In 1990, you play it, people will go bananas. You play the song right now, 2011, in New Orleans, people will go bananas. We took that song and we fell in love with it, man.
Lil Wayne, what type of food do you like?
okay, back to the story. People in New Orleans love the Triggerman beat on its own, but when MCT Tucker used it on his 1992 track, Where They At, there was no going back. Bounce was born. When MCT Tucker chanted David Duke over the Triggerman beat, he knew he had the city behind him. But he also introduced one more thing: hyper-repetitive dance instructions.
Shake that ass like a sausage. Shake that ass like a sausage. Shake that ass like a shake that ass like a shake.
You know, it's all about stuff that's commanding your audience on what to do, either lyrically or dance-wise. You know, like dribble, 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 dribble like a basketball.
Hey, walk, work something if you're real with it. Hey, walk, work something if you're real with it.
Hands on your knees with your wiggle low. Now put your hand behind your head with your wiggle low. Bounce for the third wall, bounce for the 17th, bounce, baby, bounce, bounce, bounce.
There's this Billboard magazine feature from 1994 about bounce that explains just how popular it was in New Orleans. It says locally produced bounce cassettes routinely sell 200 to 300 units a week, roughly 10 times the sales of national rap albums. The problem? Well, bounce was difficult to sell outside of New Orleans because it just didn't match the sound or the lyrical style of mainstream hip-hop. And yet, bounce persisted in the city. Eventually, the Triggerman beat was mixed up with the Brown beat, an 808 heavy syncopated rhythm that, depending on who you ask, was either lifted from UK rapper Derek B's Rock the Beat,
Okay, one, well, Derek B got the cuts you like, the incredible easy.
or from this Bay Area DJ.
Hi, I'm Cameron Paul.
You know something about bounce? It never gets old. A lot of us have classics that they know when they hear that, the whole club just gonna go damn crazy. You can put a DJ Jubilee song on and the party just gonna get started.
Big Frida's classic,
Everybody know me for Gin in My System for sure. It's definitely about participation with New Orleans. The Mardi Gras Indians, the Second Line Sundays, the bounce music, where if I would say I got that gin in my system, my audience will say somebody gonna be my victim. And that's your hook. I got that gin in my system, somebody gonna be my victim.
I got that gin in my system, somebody gonna be my victim.
For the most part, the big bounce classics stayed in New Orleans, but a few trickled into the mainstream. Like in 1998, New Orleans' own Juvenile released Back That Ass Up featuring Lil Wayne. It peaked at 19 on the Billboard charts.
Drive it like it's that trap, drive it like it's that, drive it like it's that trap, drive it like it's that. You got a wobble-dee, drive it like it's that.
Just like any other music around the world, it has to have its home base first. Once Katrina hit, the music spread it all around the world, wherever we were displaced at. And people was like, what is that sound? What type of music is that? And we was like, baby, that's New Orleans bounce.
Sometimes that exposure fosters positive collaborations with bigger artists. Diplo worked with New Orleans Nikki DeBee on Express Yourself and Big Frida on Drop. And other times it's just blatant appropriation.
It's just important for them to say whether they get the idea and having the courage to say, I got this from a culture of bounce music. A lot of times people come to New Orleans and they see it and they love it so much, they just gotta take a little piece back home with them, baby.
But there is a gray area in songs like Lemon.
Mad ethnic right now.
I get it how I live it. I live it how I get it.
When I listen to Lemon, I hear a very clear remix of the Triggerman beat. I hear a heavily syncopated Brown beat style rhythm. I hear dead giveaway lyrics. And some subtle nods to the genre.
Shout out to them people.
Queen Diva, she about to explode.
Based on this, though, is it bounce or is it just bounce inspired?
Well, I definitely think that it's bounce inspired. It's definitely not a bounce song. A lot of artists sometimes can instruct producers to a certain degree on how to create the sound. When it's the official stamp of a bounce song, you are a bounce artist, you grew up in New Orleans, and you went into one of our gritty little studios that was sweating hot, and you made that song.